Okay, so welcome to the first SudanELDA webinar. We have a lovely hour for you this evening, and it's to celebrate International Women's Day. So this is the first webinar that SudanELDA has done, and I'd like to ask people to stay invisible and mute their microphones, please, because we have an introduction, then 3 presentations. Okay, so first, let me share with you today's big event. This is the plan for the hour. The welcome, first of all, then quotations. We've changed the order. Rukia is going to go first. Rukia Mohamed, our special guest from Kenya, is going to be speaking about girls at the English Mastery Community Group in Kenya. We will then have the president of SudanELDA, Lubna Abdelhafik, talking about women and peace, and I will do my part, Linda Ruas, lessons about women at the end, and then we'll have time for questions. Okay? This is the interesting part of today so far. We have just published SudanELDA's first newsletter. Please ask for a copy or get them from the WhatsApp groups or Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And we're very proud to have articles, useful websites, and information about ELDA in this newsletter. Talking of newsletters, we have another publication coming out, which is called Women in ELT. And again, this is to celebrate International Women's Day. The closing date to submit articles for this is tomorrow, International Women's Day. And the publication will be out in a few weeks' time. It's to write 300 to 500 words, so short articles. Send it to one of our emails by tomorrow, and we will publish that. That's our next publication. Okay, and just before we begin, here are some quotations from women, powerful women. Which quotations do you like best? Have a look. Rukia, can I ask you, which quotations do you like best from these?
They're all nice, but I love this one for success isn't about how much money you make. It's about the difference you make in people's lives, by Michelle Obama.
It's wonderful, isn't it? And this is what we're all doing as teachers, isn't it? Especially someone like you, Rukia, who is working so much with global issues and with women in the English Mastery Group. Yeah, and I'm sure we all love Michelle Obama as well. I like Hillary Clinton's, women are the largest untapped reservoir of talent in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice one to remember for tomorrow, for International Women's Day and every day. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to introduce Rukia. She's going to talk for 15 minutes about her English Mastery Group in Kenya. Would you like to share your screen? And I will make myself invisible, Rukia. Okay, over to Rukia Mohamed from Kenya.
Thank you so much, Linda. Can you see my screen?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So as you've been told, salam. I'm from Kenya. I'm Rukia Mohamed and the coordinator of the English Mastery Community Group. So this group was started, it was registered in 2020, but we started our activities in 2018. Earlier, we were talking about how difficult at times registrations are, how they can be. So, trying to move. So this group is basically a group that is led by women, and majority of them are youth. And it was started when we had an initiative on learning English at American Spaces, where we trained 60 women on how to do English clubs within the community and also within schools around their community. Our aim was to look at the different issues that happen in the community that could be discussed in an English club, and looking for solutions using those English clubs, both in the community and in the schools. At one of the stations that we started with, there was an issue about drugs and substance. So that is something that a discussion that we had even when we were doing the trainings on English clubs. And from the discussions, different solutions that were proposed, and some people went ahead and implemented, and that's how we do things at the English Mastery Community Group. We do discussions, then we go implement what we've discussed. And the English Mastery Community Group, EMCG, is a chapter of the English Language Professionals Association of Kenya, ELPAC, which is also an umbrella body for teachers of English and other professionals in Kenya. So our goal is to provide a relaxed environment for the practice of the 4 English language skills. And we further put into consideration the importance of language mastery to the day-to-day activities in the community, which include things like the social setting, business and work. And also with this, we bring in like a functional purpose of language, because language is used in so many avenues. Even in school, other subjects are taught through the English language most of the times. And we communicate, we use it in so many ways. So for us to be able to use the English language communicatively is what our aim is as the English Mastery Community Group. So some of our activities include, with both the community and the schools, is the discussion of topical issues and global issues, and the implementation of relevant activities from these discussions. As I've said, we do debates and creative writing and poetry with schools using different topics. At the moment, we are looking at the Women History Month, as you shall see as we move forward. We also work with work and social related issues, including CV writing. We do how to do interviews for university students, how to communicate, and we also mentor other members who are volunteers within the English Mastery Community Group. So I'll go right to activities. So some of the activities like this, this one we call this niwezeshe, which is a Swahili word meaning empower me. So this discussion started, I should have done the slides the other way around, but this discussion started on World Earth Day last year with the Community English Club. So what we did, we looked at how can we conserve our environment, what are the things that we do as human beings that destroy the earth and all that. So we were given a challenge and we did a contest. You will see as we move, we did a contest. Volunteers were called upon to go and look at different things they can do to help conserve the environment. And then we did an awarding during the International World Environment Day, the following month. So this niwezeshe program actually now became one of our projects from this environment conservation, where we train women on how they can conserve the environment. We want them to know the effect of climate change on their businesses. And the women being the most affected because most of them are the business holders within the community. They are the people that maybe in these low income areas, they are maybe the people families depend on and all that. So the climate change has brought in an effect whereby there is poverty because maybe the market is not good. There's no rain, like in Kenya, like for 3 seasons, we've not had rains as expected. So we're hoping that we'll have rain. So the businesses are affected due to climate change. So we are teaching them that the things that when they are doing within their businesses can affect the climate, as well as what can they do to make their businesses better. What can they do? Like we are teaching them even life skills on how to communicate, how to take care of themselves so that things don't spill over into their business, so that they can make their business intact within the situation whereby our environment is affected, while at the same time taking care of their environment in the way they package, maybe working on the drainages and all that, and so on and so forth. So this is where it started. In that contest, after the World Earth Day last year, we had these people showcasing what they're doing. And one of the people who showcased was Patricia. Patricia bought land that was bare, as you can see on the first part. Then she started planting trees, and every visitor who came to her home, she made sure they didn't leave without planting a tree. And eventually, in the last photo, you see now the trees are growing. And eventually, after this contest, she went ahead in the Coast Province, a place called Kilifi County, and she was able to start this initiative of planting trees with the schools around that area. So we usually feel proud of this because we know it's courtesy of the discussions that we have in the English clubs that lead to implementation of what we do. So these are also some of the submissions that came in. And like this group here was, they were working on the drainages within the low-income areas. And here is a caption of some of the maybe comments, educational materials that people posted just to make people aware of the importance of conserving the environment. All this is in our Facebook page. It is English Mastery Community Group. Then other world themes like prevention of sexual and gender-based violence. Again, we had a discussion. We had this discussion this year. The first part was conducted by one of our volunteers. So we also mentor them to be able to facilitate such discussions. And this photo on the my right side, maybe it's your left side. Last year, but one, we had a discussion again on sexual and gender-based violence. And after that, we asked volunteers to go and do graphics on what they think about sexual and gender-based violence. And we received so many amazing messages in form of graphics that had a message. Like here we see this lady, because she was really staying there and deciding that no, she wants to still be there, maybe for whatever reasons, but she left the place without her leg. This was how one of the volunteers pictured sexual and gender-based violence. And there are so many other ways that people picture it. So this one here was one of our mentors also. This is what she said: empower women and you empower the whole world. And then here someone was talking about stop human trafficking. All those were follow-up activities from the discussions that we had. Then we also do activities with schools directly. And we have so many, but here, this is a very long time ago, I think in 2019 or 2020, when I did something with a school on like taking care of, usually after the exams, we see a lot of suicides at times, but now they've gone down. So we were looking at how can you use the English clubs to help the learners vent and maybe release the stress. And we were talking about, we used the games, the board games, you know, when they're talking and conversing, they release the stress. Then on this chart, they were talking about like, what are we grateful about? So these are all activities you can do in classes, because these learners, they come into class not like a vacuum. They come with whatever it is that they are facing in the community with it in class. So there's a way you can incorporate something, still learn your vocabulary, still let them practice the listening, speaking, and all those skills about the English language, but still, again, you're touching on something that is affecting them, and it has an impact once they come out of that class. So this was actually today, these photos. We were having a game show at the same schools where we have now junior secondary and primary section. So we had a game show about Women History Month, and we were asking, like we first did the board games whereby they were just going through the board game with a dice, and then they answer the question where they fall into. And they learned a lot about World Women History Month. And then after this, we had a trivia whereby we were asking questions and they were answering, and where they didn't know, we were giving them information about what it is, and they learned a lot of new vocabulary. They practiced a lot of speaking skills, and it was fun, and it was fun, it was fun. And from the lessons that they learned, and one of them was telling us that she realized that Women History Month does not mean that we are disregarding men, but rather we are, at some point in time, women were marginalized, so we are just bringing up their voices, and we are also trying to say that let's recognize that as a woman you can still do things in science, technology, you can still do it. It doesn't mean that you cannot do it. And the boys learned that they can support the ladies while still excelling. It was really a fun activity. And these are some of the things that we do within EMCG. And I would be interested to know, maybe on your end, what are some of the challenges that you face in your community? How would you adapt some of the things maybe we are doing in the EMCG into your own English clubs? So this is where I end my presentation, and shukran. Shukran. Thank you, Linda. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Rukia, for that. That was an amazing presentation. I'm sure SudanELDA would love to follow some of those activities and do some similar activities to you. And it'd be great to work together as well with your organization, wouldn't it? There's a couple of questions in the chat. My first question was, how long have you been doing this? It sounds like you've been doing it for hundreds of years. You're so good at it.
Actually, we've been doing it since after that webinar on learning English at American Spaces, which was 2018.
Excellent. And there's another question there. Very interesting group. I'm very interested to know how you fund your projects, is the question. Any points about funding?
Fine. Actually, most of the things we do, we volunteer. Most of the times we're volunteering. But at times when there's a call for proposal, like the Niwezeshe group, the Niwezeshe project actually was funded by the US Embassy. And for a number of women, 50 women within Nairobi business people, and within Kitui, which we are going to pick it up next week, 15 of them farmers. So, but most of the times we are volunteering, and at times we get to work with the English language fellows. Again, we get free space in the American corners within the country and all that.
Okay, that's interesting. That's lovely. It sounds brilliant. It's exactly the sort of things I think that we should be doing with English language, especially with clubs, especially with empowering women and girls, helping women with businesses, quizzes to learn more about women's role in the world, helping boys to understand the women's place in the world, women and girls. Excellent work. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And a wonderful celebration of International Women's Day as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. Rukia has written an article for our next publication, Women in ELT, so you'll be seeing more of her. And she needs to go because she's had a hard day organising all of those quizzes and games in class. So thank you again so much, Rukia.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye. Salam.
We'll be in touch a lot.
Right.
And now I would like to introduce Lubna, our ELDA president. Lubna is going to be presenting her presentation here. I'm going to share it for her and she's going to speak because she is on her phone at the moment. So Lubna, if you would like to say to me next when you want me to move on to the next slide, is that okay?
It's okay.
Okay, great.
Let me greet the presenter of this webinar. Welcome. Good evening to all of you. I hope you have a better evening than us here. No electricity, and it will be for more 5 hours. Our presentation, depending on the Women's Day and celebration of this day, it's great for us. ELDA as well would like to congratulate all women and all the community in Sudan and outside Sudan on this International Day. English Language Development Association, ELDA, is a newly born teacher association and the only formal and registered one in Sudan. In fact, registration took a lot of energy of us, a lot of time, and we last got it 3 months ago. It was a long and hard journey, but we overcome it as a nice group who all work together to have ELDA formally registered. Next. Linda. Welcome to Sudan and the situation of Sudan, Sudan politics. In fact, I'm going first to give a little introduction about the situation in Sudan. Sudan has been under Ingas regime for 30 years. And then all the community raise up for a revolution. And the revolution occurred in, it is called from December to April, December 2018 to April 2019. During these months, people got their revolution victory. Freedom, peace, and justice. These are the 3 essential objectives of Sudan revolution in 2019. As I said, it was against Ingas regime and the dictator Omar al-Bashir, who was the president of Sudan for the previous 30 years. Next, Linda. Women in politics, Sudanese women in politics. In fact, women in Sudan got their rights a long time ago, and they participated very much in politics, not only in our recent history, but also in the earliest history, even BC history. At that time, our women ruled. We have one Kandaka. Kandaka, it's a name of a queen, and now it is a name for every lady who goes out for revolution and revolutionary objectives. We have Amani Rinas, who ruled the Nubian tribes from 40 BC to 10 AD, and she fought against the Romans' exploitation, and even she lost her eye in the battle. Next. Sudanese women in politics got a lot of then the women got a lot of rights, and they had some challenges. We have some challenges, although we got some victory. We are really in lack of awareness of women's issues, maybe among the elites or the capital inhabitants, but for the rest of Sudan is not capital, and it's not only the big cities and towns. There are a lot of people behind that. So we have some lack of awareness about women's issues and about women's causes. Also, we lack sensitivity in a lot of areas. In media, we don't have gender sensitivity. In even in education and education curriculum, they are not sensitive towards gender. We don't have a united women's platform. So I think these are the most important challenges for women in Sudan for the time being. Next. I talked about women in the past history, but women also in the recent history shared a lot, and a lot of women in Sudan became in areas and they practiced job which was prohibited earlier for them. From the years 1960s, Sudanese women started to be members in the parliament, and there was the first ever woman in the region, in the Middle East and in Africa, who was the first woman to get into the parliament. She was Fatima Ahmed Ibrahim. And then a lot of success with Sudanese women, and they fought a lot about their rights. And in 2019 revolution, the Sudanese women participated very much. It's quite enough for us that every demonstration started with women's noise call, and this call is called in Arabic Zaghrouda. It's a noise that I imitated to Linda. It was very interesting to her. And I think all my participants here are Sudanese, and they know exactly how does it sound, Zaghrouda. So every demonstration in Sudan during the revolution time, from December 2018 to April 2019, it started with the woman noise. It's kind of call. It's a call for people to come and to be together, and they are then united, and it was very difficult for the safeguards to fight them. Next. We had in Sudan a very long big wars, civil wars, and there are a lot of victims in the war. We have the war in the south until we divide the country divided into two parts, South Sudan and Sudan, and then we had the war in south. We still struggling from the results of war. It hasn't stopped very much, and it goes without saying that women are the most affected by wars some fight. That's why they are the most particular layer of the society that call for inclusive, transparent, and informative peace. The UN Women had one of its report, and it says if the goal of peace, of a peace process, is only to end violence, then women who are rarely the belligerents are unlikely to be considered legitimate participants. If the goal is to build peace, however, it makes sense to gain more diverse inputs from the rest of society. So women should not just run after sitting in tables and to participate in negotiation, and that is their goal for peace. They had a lot of a big journey, distance journey, where they had a lot of agendas to be done after the negotiation and after sitting in tables and presenting themselves or participate with men in the same tables during the peace negotiations. Next. Peace process in Sudan. We need women to do a lot in peace, not just as I just mentioned to sit into the tables, but also we need women to sit to represent their agendas in the peace agreements and still have other roles in the community as well, not just their agendas. Female protesters are abused by males verbally and physically, presuming they lack abilities and are incapable of protesting themselves. Also, there is sexual violence has been used as a weapon to crush resistance by the military. So the journey, not just the peace about wars, but still we have a lot of victims, female and women victims in the streets. They are still violated, abused, and they had still a long journey to go so as to call for peace. So the process is still long for us. Next. Women have some demands now. They have legal demands, as we have some problems together with the law. The problems of law, like the public order law, which hit women, and we can come to it later. But the recent demands, legally, we need some amendment of laws which discriminate women. We need new laws to be issued so as relying on the Security Council resolution 1325 from the UN. So these are some legal demands. We have other demands politically and socially. Women participation in decision-making and peace-building process. Women should raise women awareness, particularly for the future election, since Sudan is going under a transitional period. After that, there is an election. Women need a lot to undergo this experience of election. They need also to build equality in society through the educational curriculum. For example, just as an example, this educational curriculum, but we need it in media, in society, in our everyday life. Also, some demands of enhancing of Sudan causes into the international media, because Sudan is not very much observed internationally. Even I had a friend in Sweden. She told me that she has read a lot of things about politics in Africa, in low level countries, low economy countries. Sudan has never been mentioned in that big college of politics. So we still need Sudan to be seen into the media, the international media, and to be represented and shows. Yes. Next. Women participation in peace. More than half of peace processes that reach an outcome lapse back into conflict within the first 5 years. Women activists show that traditional models cannot be justified by existing assumptions about what works and what does not. Young Sudanese female protestants are adapting brilliant ways of mobilizing, organizing the female protest groups by using digital tools, networking technologies, and social media. And it is used as trending issues, the women issues, into the peace process. Next, Linda. Yes, that's all. And I think yes, that's all for me. Thank you very much. I'm ready to answer or to add to this presentation, whatever you like. Thank you.
That was a wonderful presentation, Lubna, and it's so interesting to see all those points brought together about Sudan and the history and the recent history and politics and the role of women in that. I have a question, and I think you went to Belgium recently to represent Sudan and talk about women and peace. Is that right?
Yes, I went there and I represented a group of women. They called for peace, and we they collect us as group from different parts of the world, Libya, Yemen, where there are still civil wars and problems of women and gender, and their lack of representation into the talks. It was a brilliant experience to know about other countries as well. And
how
we
do you
also...
think ELDA, sorry, carry on. How do you
Yes,
think
I
SudanELDA
think...
can help with women's role and women's position in Sudan? Do you think the Teaching Association can help a lot now?
Yes, I think we are a brilliant group of teachers. We can't wait the ministry to issue the curriculum. We can make some lesson plans depending on topics like this. We have this 8th of March. At schools, I think teachers can take 10 minutes or 15 talking about women and women in Sudan and the women in the class, teachers, and so on. So we have a lot to do together as teachers, and we have, I think the reflection will be nicer when teachers are involved in such issues.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, great. And there are no other questions in the chat at the moment. So I think I'll carry on. Is that okay with my bit? And if there are any questions to anybody, please put them in the chat, or we will open up all the microphones at the end and see if there are any live questions, if that's okay. Okay, so I'd like to just present something a little more practical now. Sorry. I just have some lesson materials about women, and this is the sort of thing that I do with my classes. I'm an ESOL teacher and teacher trainer in London, and I teach multilingual adults, mainly asylum seekers and refugees. So we're doing a lot of lessons all about women at the moment, and I've got a few examples to share with you. If you're watching this on YouTube, on the video recording, then of course you can pause as long as you like to read the texts. We're not going to have time to read them all now, just to have a look. Do you recognize anyone in the photos here? Let's have a look. 3 short lessons and texts. Okay, so the first one is this very strange picture. What do you think is happening here? If you look at the picture, you can see that they're all women and they're all wearing false moustaches. Why? It's good to get students' interest here and for us to think about it as well. What are they doing, wearing these false beards and moustaches? Okay, so this is a very short question to summarize the text. as you're reading to see which summary is the best. So there's 3 possibilities. The women wear false beards so that they can look as important as men and can get into important meetings. Is that a good reason? Or because they're angry that men are more important than them and they want to protest? Or to make people question the control of men? Let's have a look very quickly and see which one you think, A, B, or C. Okay, there's 2 slides. This one here. And the next one. Okay. Which one do you think is true? A, B, or C? The answer is all of them. They're all true. These are the reason why these group of women in France wear false beards. Brilliant way of getting people to think and question their attitudes. Okay, text 2 is this one. Do you recognize this woman? Who is it? Where? What did she do? Why? A long time ago. Let's have a look at the text and see if we can find out something about her. Okay, did you recognize her? So it was this really famous woman called Rosa Parks who refused to give up her seat to a white person on a bus in the USA. Okay, this was nearly 70 years ago. She protested and she became a heroine. Okay, the greatest woman who refused to leave her seat. Yes, actually, yes. So it's really good to celebrate people like her who started these powerful protest movements and to use her as an inspiration to others. When I do a lesson about her, I also link it with grammar, looking at active and passive and looking at different language patterns. Have a look at this. So this is all present perfect, things that have happened to women and things that women have done from the past up until now. But the passive ones are all the problems. Women have been abused, women have been exploited, women have been oppressed. And we can look at that pattern in the present perfect passive. And then women's achievements. Women have fought for rights, women have stood up for equality, women have supported others. They are in the active and shows how active women have been, can be, and will be to overcome some of these problems. So it's very nice sometimes to link grammar with ideas, especially tomorrow for International Women's Day. The final text is this one. There are 2 gaps in this text. Can you think what should fit in the gaps? Okay, I'm going to show you. It is, of course, women in war zones are the best peacemakers, but they almost never have a place at negotiations. It's mostly men in negotiations. Why? Historical, political, is it religious, cultural? Many, many reasons. But as Lubna has shown and proved, that women are often better at making peace. There is a really nice picture here of all of these women who are involved in peace negotiations all over the world. Why do we need women in peace negotiations? We could have a discussion in class about why this could be so and how. And then there's another text. We won't have time to read it all through now. All the students need to do for this is to fill the gaps with women or men. So it's a very nice gender-based reading exercise to think about the meanings and to see where you put the different words, women or men. You can do that later on the YouTube video that we're going to make and post of this webinar. Okay, there are more texts and lessons here. This is my website. It's eewiki.newint.org. There's more information about this and more information about many other articles in the next SudanELDA publication called Women in ELT, which is going to be out later in March. I would like to ask everyone to give some feedback on this first webinar and on the first SudanELDA newsletter too. We'll be posting this feedback link. And that is the end of my section. If we have any questions, if anyone would like to unmute themselves, we have a few minutes free now. Lubna, what would you like to ask? Please unmute yourself.
I want just to praise such kind of lesson. This will be hints for us to make lesson plans like this and to bring text like this. They could be reading, listening, writing, whatever the skill is. But it's interesting to have them about such women and such issues connected with the day. So it's nice, and it really give us hints to do something with our classes. We can discuss it together to have
Excellent.
such.
Excellent.
Thank you.
It's good to do it on International Women's Day, but it's really good to do that every day as well, on many different occasions.
Yes.
So when we get our SudanELDA publication out, there'll be lots of ideas of things to do in class. Okay, so I would like to wish everyone here and in SudanELDA a very happy International Women's Day, and let's do everything we can to help women's causes, to help give women more opportunities, and to help through SudanELDA to help women in Sudan. That's all from us, and thank you very much for attending.